friends, my name is Ichigunya and this is our project Death on a Paper. How have you guys been? I'm so happy to be back here making another video for you guys. So if this is your first time here on my channel, hi, welcome, I'm so happy to have you here. I make art-related videos on things like cyberbullying, bullying in general, and living with borderline personality disorder and multiple other chronic illnesses that I personally deal with. All of my art and the videos that I make on this channel are based on my personal experiences with these things. If you want to know more about our project Death on a Paper and this channel, I would really highly recommend you to watch the introduction video that I made a couple of weeks ago. Later, I'll put it here in the cards of this video so you can find it easily. That's the best place to start with when it comes to my channel and everything that I make on here, including my art. So you should totally go ahead and check out that video so you know more about the kinds of things that I make on here. But yeah, so in today's video, we will be discussing another major topic in relation to cyberbullying. We'll be talking about things like trolling and hate comments and online abuse and kids' online safety and the damage that trolling and hate comments can have on children. And how all of this is not just something that we should all expect out of the internet. That I think that this is something that people very often tend to overlook and view in a way that, like, well, yeah, that's just the internet, what did you expect, kind of thing. We've all heard that argument, right? So that's what we will be discussing in today's video, and that's also what this illustration is about. So the character present in this illustration is called the Kid. She is a symbolic representation of me as a little child when I went through severe and prolonged bullying in my childhood for the better part of a decade. And this illustration is based on the very serious effect and damage that online abuse can have on children in particular. So yeah, that's what we will be talking about today. Yeah. So as is typical for all of the speed paint videos that I make on this channel, I first want to go over the materials that I used for this illustration in particular. So the sketchbook that I'm working on for this illustration and the one that I make most of my art on nowadays is a Montmartre sketchbook. It's called the Visual Art Diary, and it's in the size of A5. And it's one with a spiraled spine instead. I personally really like this sketchbook with the spirals instead of like a bound sketchbook. I talked about this in further detail in the introduction video. If you're that kind of a person, if you're an artist yourself, and if you find it interesting to hear what kind of materials other artists, like mainly traditional artists, use, you should totally check out that video for that reason as well. But yeah, that's the sketchbook that I used for this illustration. And then I used my trusted Ecoline brush pen markers. They are watercolor based. I use those for skin tones and other like lighter shades. I've worked with them for several years at this point. I love those markers. They are the best. Then I also used Faber-Castell's India ink markers for like deeper shades and tones. And then I also used Ohuhu's Nahuku acrylic markers that I got from the brand themselves a few months ago. It's been like over half a year, I think. Jesus, I really loved working with those acrylic markers. They are just amazing with their coverage and everything. And then the line art pens that you see me using right here are Sakura's Pigma Micron fine liners. I've used those for like around a decade at this point. And then I also used Sakura's Jelly Roll white gel pen, highlight pen for things like highlights and stuff. So yeah. Before we begin with the actual topic of today's video, I wanted to let you guys know that there is going to be a bit of like some few updates in terms of upcoming content on YouTube and Instagram in the outro of this video, and then also like what my life has been like recently. I'll be talking about that kind of stuff in the outro as well. I did not want to include it in the intro because maybe not all of you care about that kind of stuff. So yeah, stick to the end if you want to know more about the kinds of things that I have planned for this channel in the future, and then other content that I make, and also what I've been up to recently. So yeah, but without further ado, let's get into the topic of today's video. Okay. All right. So trolling, hate comments, and online abuse. These are terms that are very often used like interchangeably. They overlap a lot, and people don't typically even they're not really aware of the differences between these terms, because all of this like stuff related to online abuse, cyberbullying, whatever you want to call that, it's a topic that a lot of people have very drastic opinions on. A lot of people don't even think of it as a serious and a valid type of abuse, and other people, much like myself, view it as something that is inherently dangerous and extremely harmful, especially to the healthy development of children. So yeah, these terms are sort of vague, and they might overlap a lot, but I have decided to make this sort of distinction between these three terms for the sake of solidifying my own argument on online abuse being a type of abuse, because a lot of the times when we talk about cyberbullying and online abuse, we talk about trolling and quote-unquote hate comments, and those two things get a very bad rep in terms of actually being like a valid type of abuse, and something that is responsible for traumatizing their victims. So that's why I have decided to sort of go over all of these terms here with you guys, and see what the differences between them might be. But yeah, my personal standing on all of this is that even in the case of something that people generally tend to call trolling and just like pointless like online pointless like hate comments, even those two can be extremely detrimental, especially to children, and that's what we will be talking about later on in this video. But first, let's go over these few terms here, because they are relevant to the topic of today's video. So, trolls, what are they? Well, trolls post deliberately offensive or provocative messages online, and they're typically responsible for so-called hate comments. Trolls and their toxic and harmful behavior is not limited to singular targets or victims. What I mean by this is that trolls tend to find new targets on a daily basis. They go around the internet just to find people who they can shit on and bother with their own existence, and they're not dedicated to like singular individuals, and go after these specific individuals for like personal reasons. What they are going after is not the victims, is not the targets of their offensive behavior. It's not about the target of their behavior. It's only about their own actions and the reactions that they get out of the people that they choose to bother with their existence. Like, what I mean by this is trolls are the kinds of people who you see on the internet with like no profile pictures and like no followers, no content whatsoever on their profiles, their private accounts, and they go after whoever the fuck they want to go after, and leave offensive and provocative comments in their comment sections, just to get some type of a reaction out of the person that they're choosing to annoy. And that's what trolls are. They don't really care about the singular individuals that they choose to go after that one specific day, and that was sort of sets them apart from those that we typically talk about with the term of a bully. And and especially here in this context, when we're talking about online abuse and cyberbullying, we talk about them as cyberbullies. This might be something that some people choose to disagree with me on, based on the notion that trolls are commonly also called bullies, but I personally choose not to do that. And my reason for this is that the word bully itself and the word bullying, it's a descriptor of abuse that entails the notion of the abuser choosing to go after one specific singled out individual on a repetitive sort of basis, that they choose to bother and abuse this one specific victim and target of their obscene behavior because they want to cause harm to the victim that they have chosen for themselves. This is what sets bullies apart from trolls, and you might be asking what I am basing all of this on. It's not just personal experience, it's also just the fact that I have chosen to dedicate my entire life to sort of like properly and fully understanding bullying as a type of abuse, because that's what traumatized me as a child. And then I have also decided that I'm going to act as an overall educator on like the real definition and the real meaning of bullying as a descriptor of abuse and what it actually entails. And because of these reasons, someone who would be classified as a troll is not necessarily a bully by its definition, because they have chosen the mission to just act out in a provocative or offensive manner toward any single person that they come across with online. It's just about the behavior itself, what they get out of that problematic behavior, like because they get some type of a kick out of it, and then they're looking for a reaction. And this, all of these differences between like trolls and the bullies are that's what I have chosen to base my argument on, that these things are not they are not the same thing, that there is a very clear distinction between these two terms. You are of course more than welcome to disagree with me on that. I would love to know your opinions if you agree with me on this, but I am just going to say it and put it out there that I have spent quite a lot of time just reading academic material on bullying as a type of abuse, and that's sort of what I do here. Like I am like a self-educated expert on bullying as a type of abuse, not just because of my extensive background with that type of abuse as a victim, but also because I have sort of chosen to dedicate my entire life to this, because it's a very important thing for me, and that's what a lot of my art and my content is about, educating others, educating you guys on the actual definition of bullying, what it's about, and why it's traumatizing, and why it's a very unique type of abuse that sets itself apart from the rest of abuses in this world. So yeah, to sort of conclude all of this stuff about the trolls, I just want to say once again that their behavior is not limited to singular targets or victims, and it's instead managed on a broader perspective. They don't care about which individual they're targeting on that specific day. They only care about the action itself. Now, when it comes to online abuse, that's classified as abusive comments, messages, and rumors targeted toward a specific individual with the intent to harm them. The target and the victim is the main motivator behind these actions. The actions themselves are not the main motivator, and this is what sets online abuse and cyberbullying apart from your regular everyday trolls. Because when we talk about cyberbullying and online abuse, we sort of have to come to the consensus that we are talking about a specific type of bullying. We're not talking about like specific type of like just obscene behavior on the internet. We're talking about bullying, and bullying is a specific type of abuse. So if we choose to go over what bullying is, once again, we do that a lot on my channel, and I apologize for that, but it's very, very important that we all have a common understanding of what bullying even is as a descriptor of abuse, what it refers to, and what that type of abuse actually entails. So, bullying is defined as a social type of abuse that entails power imbalances and social hierarchies. It is based on the notion that within that group that the abuse is taking place, there are power imbalances at play and a social hierarchy that puts the victim in a situation where they are unable to fend for themselves, and that power dynamic is being used against them. The bullies, the abusive kids in that class, typically when we talk about bullying, oftentimes we tend to talk about school settings because that is the most common one. The bullies in the classroom are typically the most popular kids who hold that social power and social currency over their victims. This abusive behavior that is based on the social hierarchies and power imbalances within that group, they are repetitive actions that are targeted towards this one singled out specific individual over a broad time frame. Bullying is something that has to take place very frequently and repetitively. It is a pattern of behavior that is defined by the extent of that abusive behavior, how long it lasts, and how specifically individualized is towards the target of that abusive behavior, also called the victim. That's what bullying is about. So when we talk about cyberbullying, which is a subsection of bullying, we have to understand that we are talking about a specific type of bullying here, not a specific type of online behavior. It's just cyberbullying is bullying that takes place on the internet. So when we go back to the definition of bullying as a descriptor of abuse, we again have to understand that we have to talk about a situation where the victim is a specifically targeted, singled out individual who is the one on the receiving end of that abusive behavior, and that abusive behavior has to take place repetitively in a repetitive pattern. So now that we have that understanding of bullying and cyberbullying by extension, we also have to come to the conclusion that singular hate comments that a troll leaves on your account are not necessarily bullying. And that's like the real deal between online abuse, cyberbullying, and trolling, and their singular hate comments that they leave on any online profile that they come across with. These are the reasons why I don't personally consider trolling a type of online abuse. That is again something that people might disagree with me on, and you're more than welcome to disagree with me on that. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments on this. If you agree with me, if you think that I'm just talking straight out of my ass, I would love to know. I would love to have a conversation with you guys on this. But I am just saying that everything that I'm stating here is, again, not just my personal opinion, but it's also based on that extensive academic reading that I have done on bullying as a type of abuse. So I have my sources also. I can refer back to my sources if needed be, and you're also more than welcome to ask me about those sources because I do have them. So yeah, but that's sort of like the deal between trolling, their hate comments, and then what is considered like cyberbullying and online abuse. Now, based on all of this that I've said about trolling and their hate comments, you might think that I don't care about trolling or their hate comments, and because I don't necessarily classify them as a type of cyberbullying, that I don't care about it, and that I think that it's totally cool for people to do that. That's not the case at all. I am vehemently against trolling and hate comments, no matter how much people want to try to argue that it's just a fact of being on the internet, that people are always going to be doing that. That doesn't mean that I'm not against that type of behavior. So to talk a bit more about that in particular, I wanted to discuss with you an argument that I very often see when we're talking about online trolls and their hate comments. And the argument goes as follows, quote, "Trolls are just trolls. You can't give them any attention or they will keep going." I'm sure that a lot of you have heard this comment. A lot of you have probably been told this argument when discussing these topics online. And my personal argument against this statement right here is that acknowledging the emotional hurt trolls are able to inflict onto their targets is not giving them attention. And because that's what all of this really is about to me. We have to sort of acknowledge the fact that even with just trolls that go after literally anyone on the internet, and they leave hate comments under any fucking post ever that some random ass person on the internet has decided to put out there. Even with that understanding, we should be able to acknowledge the fact that that hate comments and death threats and comments that tell you to kill yourself, that they leave emotional damage. And I think that it's really funny that sometimes we're not even really allowed to do that we're not really even allowed to express that fact that there is a problem with this type of behavior, that this is something that does cause harm to the ones who are being targeted. Also, although there usually is a difference between trolls and online abuse, just like we discussed previously, we do tend to lump them together when discussing how to deal with them. And what I mean by this is that we typically give the targets and victims of both trolling and cyberbullying these very, very general and typical solutions to their issues, which is that you should not give them any attention, you should ignore them, etc. That's what we typically say to targets and victims of both trolling and online abuse. Now, the difference between these two becomes extremely apparent to me, at least personally, when we dive a bit deeper into the problems of this sort of advice that we give to both the victims and targets of trolling and online abuse, because trolls are those types of people that are if you don't give them anything, if you don't give them any attention, if you don't respond to their comments, if you just block them and move on, they typically do move on as well, because like I said previously, they don't really care about their victims or their targets. More likely, they don't care about the individuals that they choose to bother with their atrocious behavior. They only care about that atrocious behavior as a standalone thing. They only care about whether or not the target of their behavior gives them some type of a reaction to that atrocious behavior. And this is not the case when it comes to online abuse and cyberbullying necessarily, because like I said, bullying as a type of abuse, it's very specifically targeted to a singled out individual in that group, whatever that group may be, if it's a classroom or an online community like a Discord server or whatever the fuck. And that's the reason why the advice of not giving them the attention that they want and to just keep ignoring them and stuff like that, why that may not end up helping the victim in the long run, because because it doesn't really matter if you give some type of a reaction to the abuse that you're facing, if that person has chosen you as their victim and they have chosen to make your life miserable. They will find a way to do that, whether or not you give them any sort of satisfaction with the reaction that you might give them. So that also sets these two apart very drastically, typically. Also, I want to point out the fact that it is much easier to ignore random hate comments from general trolls than it is to ignore continuous abuse and harassment from one devoted individual. I know this from personal experience. I have dealt with people on the internet that have decided to abuse me for years. It didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter what I said to them. If I said anything to them, it didn't matter how many times I blocked their account. Like, it just all kept going on and on and on and on and on. It is very fucking difficult to keep ignoring that type of abusive behavior when it is being continuously targeted towards you and nothing changes no matter what you do or don't do, if that makes sense. Because trolls move on to new targets after you block them, but devoted abusers keep creating new accounts with new IP addresses. That's something that I've also personally dealt with when it comes to, particularly these people that chose to abuse and harass me on the internet for years. They kept creating new accounts with new IP addresses. They even spoofed some of their IP addresses, and they just kept going on and on and on, no matter what I did or didn't do. That becomes very, very difficult to just continuously ignore, because that's just, you're not really capable of doing that. If someone is abusing you day in, day out, whatever you do, it's very difficult not to notice that, if you know what I mean. With all of that being said about the differences between cyberbullying, online abuse, and trolling and their hate comments, I do want to say that there is this general justification for trolling and hate comments on the internet. And I wanted to talk about this particularly from the context of the children. So let's talk about kids' online safety and the damage of trolling and hate comments, because that's really what this illustration is about. If you look at it, if you are paying attention to the speed paint while you are listening to me yap about this stuff, that's what this illustration is about at the very core of it all. Because to me personally, what matters most to me as an artist and as an anti-bullying activist is the safety of children. It's not just because I was a child when all of this happened to me, but it's also just because children are the most vulnerable people of our society, and they are far more likely to get discriminated against by literally everyone around them, and especially adults. So I'm all about children's rights and children's safety. So that's also what this illustration is about. When we're talking about trolls and hate comments, for adults it's easier, because adults can filter through hate comments easier than children who are easily influenced by the things that happen to them. Kids are like sponges. They soak in everything that is said to them, everything that is done to them, everything that happens around them, and all of these things end up shaping that child into the type of person that they end up becoming. Hate comments influence the way kids see themselves. They serve as a community's reflection on the kid's character, like their class in school does. That's why it's very, very difficult for kids to sort of filter through the hate comments that they receive on the internet, because kids are continuously looking for people and the way that other people react to them, the way that other people around them feel about them, and what kind of character other people around them view them as, if that makes sense. Kids are continuously looking for ways to compare themselves to others, not just because comparison is in the nature of being a human being, but because they're doing that in order to learn more about themselves. If a child continuously gets feedback on their character as being a terrible human being, an ugly piece of shit that deserves to die, that is going to affect the way that they view themselves as a character. It's going to affect the way that they feel about themselves, especially in relation to others. It's going to impact the way that their character develops, because someone calling a kid's face the ugliest thing they've ever seen can leave a lasting impression on the kid's mind and self-perception, no matter the intention. If that intention is trolling, like just a singular hate comment that is left under a child's post on social media, or like any other type of online community. I don't know if kids even play these games anymore, but I was born in the year 2000, and it was very, very, very common for kids of my age to be playing like massive multiplayer roleplay games. I guess what they were called in some form or another, like avatar-based multiplayer games that had like forums and stuff like that, like, because forum sites were very, very hugely popular in the 2000s and even in the early 2010s. I don't know if kids nowadays even like play those kinds of games or use those kinds of sites anymore, but I most definitely did, and depending on the kind of site that I was on, it was allowed for users to share pictures of themselves like on those kinds of sites. So we could be talking about that kind of an online environment, that kind of an online group, or then just like social media posts. Because let me tell you, like, trolls existed on those kinds of sites as well. It wasn't just like a regular forum thing even back then, or never mind like social media stuff. Like, trolls have always existed on the internet, and they most certainly did even in those kinds of sites that were meant for girls back then, or other femmes. So yeah, trolls have always been there, but like I said, it doesn't really matter what the intention behind that type of commenting is, like has like on the background of it, because singular comments like that a child receives on their posts, they can definitely leave a lasting effect on the way that the kid like feels about themselves and see themselves in relation to others around them. What I find the most frustrating about all of this is that the internet is so fucking eager to justify trolling and hate comments, but when we like relate that back to like the lack of interest in providing a safer online community for children, then we have crickets. Like, that's really what like I would love to see in my lifetime, that this kind of mentality ends up changing, because it is so incredibly infuriating to me to see the way that we choose to defend trolls and like shitty ass people who leave hate comments like under post made by literal children, and then we don't give a single flying fuck about the safety of those children. Like, why do we always find a way to defend an abuser and their actions? Like, that's just so fucking insane to me. Like, no matter what it is, we always find a way to justify like abusive behavior, like towards victims. Like, it's crazy. And kids are no different. Kids most definitely get the brunt of it all, because like I said, kids are vastly discriminated against in this society. They are viewed as lesser than. They are not viewed as whole human beings, and they are not protected, even though they are the ones that need the most protection in this entire world. But we just don't care about their safety in the same way as we do care about the safety of adults. And it's very, very fucking bothersome, because when we don't care about the safety of children, you get fucked up people like me. I have a personality disorder right now. I am completely disabled and I'm unable to have a regular everyday job. So instead of doing what I was supposed to do, which was to become a Finnish and literature teacher, I do this shit now. Which is like, I guess it's okay. I do enjoy what I do. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't. But now I don't really have another choice, you know. Like, this is not what I planned for myself. But anyways, that's sort of besides the point. Another extremely common argument that I see when talking about this kind of stuff on the internet is the argument that kids shouldn't be on the internet at all. Now, there are a lot of issues with this argument that I have, but most definitely this is the main one. In our current Western society, where the internet is a fucking necessity, this is entirely unrealistic. Like, I don't know, man, but that could have been, and that was sort of an argument, like back then when I was a kid and when I was just first getting to know the internet in some kind of way. That was definitely an argument back then, like in the 2000s or something. But that was 20 years ago. So like, nowadays, you can't really function in this society without the internet somehow being involved in your everyday life. Like, that's just a fact. So, and kids are human beings, and kids are going to be doing human things, and being on the internet is a human thing. Like, that just... I know that sounds stupid, but like, that's essentially what it's about. Like, it's just, I think it's incredibly unfair if we just go to the direction of like blaming kids for being on the internet in the first place, instead of, I don't know, maybe doing something for them, maybe making the internet a more safer place for them. But yeah. Like, the internet is not inherently not safe for work or for adults. Sure, there are NSFW like things on the internet, like we all know that, Rule 34 and whatnot. And a lot of the internet's like functionalities like is for adults, yes, of course, but I would also say to all of this that kids have the right to be online while also being safe from abuse. Like, this entire argument of like, just don't be on the internet, like, just log off. Like, I made an illustration of that argument as well. I'll put the speed paint of that illustration here in the cards, so you can go and watch it later on. But like, that argument too, like, just log off and just don't be on the internet. Like, that is at the very core of it all. It's blaming the victim for being there to be victimized. And what does that remind us all of? I'm letting you fill in the blanks here. And like, I know that this is very, very dark and very just like something that like we shouldn't even really be talking about, but because it happens, I need to bring it up. This is my question to all of you guys who think that like shaming children for being on the internet is like any type of solution to all of these issues that I've discussed in this video. I'm just going to leave you with this. Are you going to blame the child who committed suicide because of online abuse for being on the internet just to find friends? Are you? Because if you are, then you are a shitty ass human being, and I don't want nothing to do with you. Because that's fucked up. To me, that it's incredibly fucked up to blame the child for being on the internet to try to find a community like that they might not even have, like even back at home or at school or whatever. They might be incredibly lonely, and the internet is a place for them to go to find people with similar interests, to find people who are like them. And then when they do that with the purest of intentions because they are a child, then they get abused for being on the internet, for being who they are, for maybe having nerdy interest or something, I don't know. And then that abuse just gets so bad that this poor little child cannot handle it anymore, and they end up taking their own life. Are you going to blame the child for that? Are you? I really hope you're not. So, as a way to sort of conclude all of this, I want to say that trolling and hate comments very often border on abuse, and we need to make the online world safer for kids. That's my main argument here. And yeah, if you sort of disagree with that notion, then I don't know what you're doing here, but I would still like to hear your thoughts on it, because I'm not, my goal with all of this, with what I make, is not to just be right about everything. Okay, like, I want to have conversations with people on all of these issues. I want to hear everyone out, and just sort of like have a conversation with any one of you who might disagree with me on what I say. I want to have civil discussions with people who disagree with me, because I think that that's incredibly fruitful. We should all be able to do that every once in a while. But yeah, that's the video. That's the conclusion to all of this. Yeah, I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed the illustration that I made. Please let me know. Let me know how you feel about it, how you feel about all of these issues that I discussed in this video. Yeah. As is typical for all of these speed paints that I make, there will also be a blog article related to this illustration and these topics that we discussed on today's video, like, up on my blog. You can go to my website, artprojectdeathonpaper.com, and you'll find my blog on there. So please go ahead and read it when the article comes out. My uploading schedule and my content schedule right now is that I upload new YouTube videos every single Wednesday, and then the article of the illustration that was present in the speed paint, in the case of the YouTube video being a speed paint, that will go up on my blog later on the same week, usually like either on Friday or Saturday. So yeah. Keep your eyes open for that. But yeah. So for upcoming YouTube content, I will be putting up a poll on the posts of this channel, where you can vote for the next video topic. That's what I've been doing a lot recently, and I've been having a lot of time just like hearing you guys out and what you want me to make. So I'll be making that poll very soon, in a couple of days. So please vote on the poll so you can decide on the kind of video that I'll be making next week. I have few ideas already that I want to make. We are slowly, finally getting to the end of Online, the chapter that I've been working on for several months now. It's been like fucking half a year or something. Jesus, I want to get this done. This illustration is one of the last ones. There will probably be 1 or 2, max 2 pieces that I will be making for Online before finally concluding it all. So yeah. But there are some other video ideas that I have for upcoming YouTube content. So I want to hear you guys out on which one of them you want me to make next week. Also on Instagram, I'll make Instagram like I've been doing for the past 4 years around, yeah. But that won't be my main focus as of right now, because Instagram is really just bothering me a lot. I'm way more motivated to make YouTube content than Instagram stuff right now. But I'll be making some educational carousel posts on bullying again soon, and then like some funny reels here or there. But yeah, that's about it. I don't want to stress too much about Instagram right now, because it's been pretty fucking ass for me for a very long time. And then in terms of my life, what's been going on? Nothing much, nothing all that exciting, honestly. Me and my fiance are still waiting for the paperwork so that we can have gay marriage. We have not yet have gay marriage, but we will have gay marriage soon. Hopefully. That's the plan. But yeah, everything is sort of at a standstill for us right now. But yeah, I've been feeling okay-ish I guess. Not the best. Summer is beating my ass, and I'm so excited for it to be over because my depression hates summer, and I hate summer. But yeah, I've been doing okay in terms of everything. Financial struggles are always there, but I've been coping the best of my abilities. So yeah. Anyways, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching another video and taking the time to spend some time here with me. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It would really mean a lot to me. I want all of the support that I can get here on YouTube, because I want to actually start building this platform in the way that I did for Instagram as well. So any sort of engagement is very much appreciated. Also, check out my links in the caption. There's links to my art shop and all kinds of fun stuff. Especially the art shop. Please buy my shit. I need money. Because we're poor as hell. So yeah, please go check those out if you would like. That would really mean a lot to me. But yeah, that's about it. Again, thank you so much for spending some time here with me again, and I will see you guys in the next video. My name is Educator, and this has been our project Death on a Paper.